Hi, I'm Aurora. I'm a knitwear designer, and that is at Aurora Georgia on Instagram. I'm really excited to meet Joe. I really want to know what he thinks about being a student, being 21 years old in the fashion industry, his challenges that he's faced, and things that he's excited to overcome.
Hi, I'm Joe Brim. I'm a final year fashion student at Westminster, and I'm really excited today to be talking to Aurora about her experiences at her university, studying, and also just learning about the differences and the things that we have in common. And I think that'll be really interesting. Hiya.
Hello.
So our first question is, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I and what do I do? So my name is Aurora, and I don't know who I am as of yet. I am studying, I'm in my second year, and I had a brand before I came to uni that is kind of on the back foot now, but yeah, I'm studying knitwear fashion design. Who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Everyone calls me Joe Brim, but my full name is Joseph Brimacombe. I'm a student, a final year student at Westminster, and I spend basically all my time in the studio making clothes or watching Arsenal. Those are basically the two things I do. But yeah, I make a lot of clothes basically.
How long have you been making clothes for?
I think I started making. Well, I only learned to sew when I went to college for the first time, so I would have been 16. We had like textile programs at school, but I never took them seriously. So yeah, 16. I know I don't think my mum or my dad knew how to sew, for example. So it's not like we ever had a sewing machine in the house type of thing. Did you learn to sew for the first time at college or uni or
I was
before
always quite a tactile person,
that?
like everything. I would do a lot with my hands all the time. So I think my mum kind of like saw that and took initiative. And she was like, I think when I was like 10, she got me a sewing machine,
Okay.
like one of the mini John Lewis ones.
Yeah.
So I kind of just been there like making things, but I haven't been making clothes. Like I started making clothes when I was like 16. They weren't really that good.
No, they never are when you first start.
Yeah.
But they're something to keep hold of for sure.
So what made you want to study fashion?
For a long time, I wanted to be a writer. I've always wanted to do something creative, but it wasn't fashion for a long, long time. Fashion came along very late. I wanted to be a video game designer for a super long time. Um, and then I think, honestly, like, I think a lot of boys my age as well, it was like getting into hypebeast stuff. Honestly, it was like Supreme and Palace and like finding this interesting. And obviously, you can look at that kind of cynically now, but like back then it was everything to me. And those brands are great gateways into kind of higher fashion and all of that. So I think it was getting interested in things like that. And then I think often the link between music and fashion is so key. So you'd look at what your favorite artists were wearing and seeing what brands they were into and how they were doing things. So I think that was a big part of it too. Like
So it was kind
Kanye.
of like the culture surrounding these two
100%. Yeah,
brands.
I mean, people use sort of the word the culture now like so much, and I think it's kind of meaningless to the point of its use. But like 100%, I think Kanye was a big part of that. Because I was a huge Kanye fan. Less so nowadays, but yeah, 100%.
So were you like, did you appreciate Yeezy as a designer?
I don't even know if it's when you're younger, you just like what everyone else tells you to like. So I don't even know if I liked Yeezy or if I liked Supreme or Palace. I just knew that other guys my age were wearing it, people who had more money than me were wearing it,
Yeah.
and the girls my age liked the boys who wore it. And I guess that was kind of like their gateways into things. And obviously you get much more invested in the art and the story behind fashion as you go on. But like people underestimate the power of just like very surface level gateway things. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. What was the question?
What made you want to study fashion?
What made you want to study fashion?
I didn't actually want to study fashion. I was actually very adamant against studying, and I was like, I don't want to do it. But growing up, like, for some reason I wanted to be a wedding dress designer, but I now don't like the concept of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like, okay, that doesn't really make sense. I just think I liked the campness of it, and it's like, oh, it's very special, and you're going to be wearing it. Just my kind of thing's like, why can't you wear that all the time?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, why can't people feel like that all the time? I think that's, now that I look back on it, that's kind of where I was excited. So I kind of always wanted to be a designer, but I never wanted to study. And then my mum like moved. Well, I never really cared for academics. And then I went to college, which is when everything changed. I always knew that I wanted to make something with my hands. It was just the way that I like naturally developed. But when I went to college, and then I had this tutor, and she was just like, you need to like stop hating on like the education system and just do it and see what happens. And I like kind of threw all my like ideas of failure out the window, and I was like, okay, like if I fail, I fail, but if I give it everything for just a year and see what happens, like we're gonna see what happens. And then like I got like the top mark that you can get, and like everything happened. I was like, oh shit, like this is kind of rewarding. Like, and then I was like, okay, my mum moved, and I was like, I need to have a loan to live in London. And I knew that I was like, if I go to a uni, I think I wanted to go to the so-called best one, kind of as like a way to feel good. So, yeah.
Would you say, so you were talking about the best uni there. When you were going to that particular uni, do you feel like you went there purely off name, or did you do a tour thing, or, you know, what was the process
so I
like?
actually never did a tour of CSM. I kind of just knew about it from when studying textiles when I was like when I was 16 doing my GCSEs, and they're like speaking to people, and they're like, oh, you do fashion, there's a really good one in King's Cross, there's a really good one. And I'm like, yeah, I know that one. But this was at the time where I didn't believe in myself at all. And I was just like, oh, like it was like kind of felt like a faraway dream. And then I was just like, oh, like whatever happened. Like, but I knew I never wanted to go to anyone else other than that one, purely because the name and the reputation. And I knew that like because I didn't want to go to uni. So I was like, why would I go to uni if I'm not going to go to the one that everyone's always talking about? I was like, I might as well.
And then CSM's reputation is international, and the press that it affords you is
exactly. And like what I don't realize is like how far that's traveled like globally. Like say if I was to get a job elsewhere, they're like, oh, you went to CSM. Like that's really good.
100%.
Even though like the level of teaching is questioned a lot. But I do enjoy it.
It helps get your foot in the door, I think, 100%.
Yeah.
So the next question is, what would you say are the best things about studying fashion?
The best things about studying fashion? I would say the best things about studying is like the resources, but not only the resources, it's like the connections that you make with people. I think like you can work with someone who you've just met on like the way to like the smoking area, or like it's kind of just about I think for me the most valuable thing is the connections, and like how I'm like learning from my friends or seeing what people are doing. I think the problem is there's so many people doing the same thing in that big studio. You're so distracted because there's so much going on. There's so much like, it's so visual and it's so feeding for your eyes, but you're kind of just like, there's a lot going on right now.
Do you think that leads into a tendency to perhaps end up replicating what other people are doing around you, or feel perhaps too influenced by other people's visuals?
I don't think so. I do think that it's influential just to see how hard they're working, which I think is really amazing, because it's like, oh shit, I need to get myself moving, because everyone is so driven. Like I really need to do it. And then obviously you have like the machinery and like the things that you don't usually have access to unless you're interning. What would you say the best things for you?
I think crucially what you touched on there are the people and the facilities. I think, you know, if I was to advise someone on going to university, I'd say, you know, look at the staff. Obviously staff change, so you can't base everything around that, but facilities are the crucial thing, because you know, space being afforded to you is such a luxury in a fashion university where it's so often oversubscribed.
Is the space where you work good?
I'm very fortunate because I'm there so much that
no one's on your turf.
It's so petty, but like there's an expectation of a certain amount of space. You know, I do my best to be very considerate of those around me, of course, but because I am there so much, I do have a lot of space. We get 2/3 of a table each, which is awkward for that person who's always in that middle spot.
You get 2/3 of a table.
Yeah. Why? How much do you get at CSM?
I feel like everyone gets like, oh, maybe that's true. I feel like you get half of the table, you share it with one other person.
No, it's 2/3 of a table is a very weird fraction, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like
if you're pattern cutting in that
awkward.
crevice, you're having all sorts of problems. Yeah, facilities and people definitely, and the staff. The unsung heroes of all unis, especially fashion unis, are technicians.
The technicians! No, this is the one. This is the key. I think the technicians, I feel kind of really guilty that I didn't bring this up first. I'm kind of like, fuck, I should have said that. But the technicians are the life and soul of art universities.
Literally.
Like, they are your therapist, they are your mum, they are your dad, they are literally everything. Like, they're your teacher, they're your mother, they're your friend. Like, they are so helpful. The technicians. That's it. That's what I have to say.
I learned so much from my technicians.
They teach you. They really teach you. Do you think that they get the credit they deserve? Like,
I mean, credit, pay.
Yeah, I think they should. I don't know what they get paid, but
I'm sure it varies from uni to uni, but
yeah,
I mean, the credit that technicians get is criminal, really. It really is.
I know at CSM, people die for the technicians. They're literally like, where is she? Is she okay? What are they up to?
Yeah.
Can I buy them a drink?
100%. And I wonder the factors that lead to that. I wonder that often tutors come from white backgrounds, and I wonder that technicians often come from immigrant backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like, often our technicians that we have at university are European, so like Polish or Albanian, for example, but often from all over the world. So often English isn't the first language, but because sewing is such a universal language, really, I think it never matters. But I do wonder the factors that limit machinists and sewing technicians from progressing, maybe if they wanted to, into teaching. Because do
you think they want to be teachers though? Because I think they have such a nice connection with the students. Therefore, like they are teachers to me.
100%.
I think if they were called teachers, we wouldn't question it at all.
Yeah, I wonder. I presume there's a discrepancy.
Do you think it's the title?
Yeah, I was assuming there's a discrepancy between paychecks as well. So I don't know.
But it's like they are like the most like the amount of labor that they do, the amount of help. Like I've given them something and I've been so stressed out, and then they're like, I've got this. Like, I'm gonna do this for you, and then they just take a weight off your shoulders.
Honestly,
want them to be okay.
Literally.
I hope they do get paid well. I don't know. I've never really questioned it.
I couldn't tell you.
Do you think they get paid like depending on the campus, like better?
Well, I think paid. It's a question to ask the teachers, and I could never say with any real certainty. But I would assume pay across universities in fashion. I would assume our tutors don't get paid the same, for example. But who gets paid more? I couldn't tell you which way it goes. I would assume CSM more because of the name and all this.
I don't know if that's just because they have like a degree in teaching or they don't.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I think.
Anyway.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
But we definitely can agree that technicians are the lifeblood of all universities. And I'm not even talking about sewing technicians in particular. The technicians that run all the different departments of my university are all angels.
Yeah.
All of them.
They're just the ones that you see, and I think they're just the most easy to talk to as well.
100%, yeah.
I think we could go on forever about this.
Literally,
Like,
we could.
Okay. So what would you say, coming from like the best things, what are the worst things about studying fashion?
It's difficult. I'm very fortunate to go to a university that focuses well on the technical aspects of it. I would say, coming back to facilities, I don't think things are necessarily shown to you. It really, and it creates...
It takes initiative.
Yeah, it takes initiative. And that is a good thing because it creates a person in you to be that person who has to take the initiative. And if you want to be successful in a so competitive industry, you have to take initiative. However, if you're a quiet person, if whoever shouts the loudest gets the most help, and for someone who's quite outspoken and is very articulate in the things that are going wrong and what they need help with, I'm very aware of the privilege that I have to have that and have people.
Are you that person?
100%. Yeah, because I think you have to be.
If
you're quiet,
that's why building a relationship with these people is so important, because you know they're going to help. Well, they're going to help you anyway,
100%.
but like they're more likely to help you if you just are regularly chatting to them.
100%. I give all of the staff at our uni Christmas biscuits.
Really?
Stuff like that. Honestly,
it's a smart move. It's a business move. It's a business move.
Come in crazy. Like you spend 16 quid on biscuits for all the staff. That
£16 on biscuits for everyone.
Yeah, for every individual, not one set of biscuits. I mean, like lots of different departments and stuff, and lots of boxes.
That's crazy.
that is like the best almost investment. I know it's cynical, but
You have
trust
such
me.
a business mind. Like, you're actually plotting.
No, it's so cynical though. It's horrible. Like, I shouldn't be like that. But yeah, the access to facilities, and I think the fact that there's no one gets the same treatment at university. It is all about, you have to kind of claw and really reach out and grasp things. But
Yeah.
there is an upside to that too, 100%.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say kind of like, I think the worst thing is like, for me, well, recently it's like, I know what I'm doing and I have all this work, but I can't, it's not ready to be presented. And then I just kind of feel like I have this conversation with a tutor, and then they're like, but where is it? And I'm like, it's here. It's here. And I haven't printed out a picture to show you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I have it there, but then I'm going to get confused and you're going to tell me all these things that I need to hear, but I'm just like, I have it, I just don't have it to show you. Like, they don't really get that. They're kind of like, well, you haven't done the work.
How much do you feel at CSM you're pushed into the practicalities of business and making money as an actual industry person?
I haven't reached that point yet.
Okay.
They haven't they don't really push that. Well, in my course, they don't. I know in FDM that they do, because that's the marketing side, and they actually think about, where does your product exist in the context of the world? They do kind of push, how do you fit as a designer outside TSM? Because they're very aware of the environment that happens. You can kind of get like stuck in the ecosystem of St. Martin's. And I think that they do try and make it like, where do you see your work outside? But they don't really teach for me, they don't teach marketing or like anything to do with that. Or they kind of do make sure that you have conversations with the communication students, and I think it works in your benefit if you do so. But say if you're not a social person,
so this is exactly where it feeds back in.
You're probably not going to do as well. Like, say if you just stick to yourself, I'm not saying that you can't do well, I'm sure like you definitely can, but it's about the connections that you make, and are people wanting to loan your pieces because they saw you in the library and you had a nice conversation. It's kind of about that. But I don't think that we've really had the opportunity. Like, I've asked one of the tutors about, how do you think I should price my things? I've asked for a loan, and they're like, you should ask someone else. Like, they're probably the best person to ask, and I'm just like, okay. Like, that didn't really help me. But yeah, I'd say like the worst thing for me is kind of just being, and I love the space, but I can't work when people are watching me, because I'm like, oh my God, like too many eyes. Not even that I think what I'm doing is really amazing, but I just can't express myself to the same degree that I can when I'm by myself. But I don't think that's a problem with studying it. I think that's just something that I need to get over, because I get too distracted in the workplace. So I'm just like, whoa.
Is it my question time, or is it your?
I think it is.
Yes. So do you feel like fashion school has prepared you for a career in fashion?
Not yet.
Similar.
Same. I think because I'm in my second year now, I hope next year, when I do my DIPS year, which is your like diploma in professional studies. But I also don't know, because I don't know what the professional world looks like. So I'm going to say no. I just know that I fear it right now. And I don't think I should, but I think that I come from more of like a fearing about like money, when I don't think a lot of people have to think about that. So I think maybe they think they're prepared because they have the skill set. But I'm like, maybe I'm not prepared for the industry because I don't have the funding. So that kind of thing. Do you think that you've been prepared?
Well, exactly like that. I mean, I don't think I would feel prepared had it not been for my year out.
See, this is what I'm aiming for.
But the privilege I was afforded in my year out is that I still got to live at home. And I still live at home going to uni. It's a massive, massive privilege, because it reduces financial strain so much.
Yeah, I think financial strain is definitely a big factor that I don't think that is spoken about enough within the fashion industry. And I think the classes system will always be so prevalent that I just think that we need to help people who are from like working class backgrounds. Because for me, I'm thinking, okay, I want to be in the industry, but all I'm doing is working on the weekends, trying to find the time to make kind of ends meet. And I'm like, bro, I'm 21. I'm like, why am I worrying about like my future when this is what I'm saying for next year. Should I go to Europe where they pay you? Because in London they don't pay you, or like
But
you have
how
to
are you
really
even going to
fight
get
to
there?
be
Yeah.
paid.
I mean,
This is what I mean.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, where am I going to go? Why should I fight to be paid anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Why is working for free even a thing?
Yeah.
Who decided that?
100%.
Who? What? This is what I mean about the classist system. Like they make it for rich people because they have the finance to back it up, or like even just living at home.
Yeah.
Like that's a massive privilege,
100%.
and you know that. But I just think that it's something that I'm passionate about, and maybe I'm bitter too.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that though.
Yeah,
I think honestly, like what you said, there's a massive privilege discrepancy. There's a massive discrepancy now because of Brexit on the amount of opportunities that are afforded to you simply on the colour of your passport, which already feeds into certain narratives about, you know, how wealthy international students typically are. Obviously, not all of them, but often international students come in.
Sometimes.
And can be extremely wealthy.
I think that's one of the worst things. We're not on that question anymore, are we? What question are we on? I'm thinking of still the worst things about studying fashion. Okay. I think the freaking finance discrepancy, that is crazy. Because I remember being in a lecture. So this is the thing about they're preparing us for next year about like studying in the industry and everything. But they're like, oh, if you don't have the money.
Tough shit.
They kind of just like, well, what are you gonna do?
We'll find the money.
Yeah. So it's kind of about finding the money, and then they kind of gave this presentation of being like, just so you know, guys, 20% of people under who are in the creative industry are working class. Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, like how do we break this mold? Like how do we break this barrier when it's a system that is not designed for us? Yeah,
100%. I think there's so much privilege discrepancy because I don't think I would have done university if I had to move for it, especially not in fashion.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, the only real cost in my life is travel. And obviously travel's really expensive, but it's nowhere near as expensive as living somewhere else.
Yeah. So interesting how we like did the opposite thing. Like I had to go because I had to find somewhere to live.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, loan seems to be the way.
Yeah, and I think that's a crucial thing because the loan system that supports university, arguably not very well, doesn't exist for other avenues. So if there are no real other avenues unless you want to go really out there. So, you know, if you want to pursue apprenticeships or internships, there aren't loans that support that.
Yeah.
And
do you think that's something that could be put in place though?
Yeah, easily. I mean,
I think that's such a good idea.
I mean, you know, you look at like apprenticeship schemes in other industries, like engineering, for example. That's the de facto way it works, pretty much. I mean, there are engineering degrees for sure.
Yeah.
But just like in fashion, the time out is so crucial, and finding a good internship is so crucial. I would go as far as to say that any university course that doesn't offer you time out to go and pursue things in the industry, you either need to take a year out to do so, or you need to look at another university, frankly.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I think is so great at University of Westminster is that we do get a year out. We've got very good links, much like CSM. And I think because we've got a reputation as quite a technical university, internships often are offered to us at quite a good rate. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm super, super thankful for.
How was your year out?
Great. Honestly, I'm so thankful to have been at the places, to go to the place I got to go to, for the opportunities that afforded me, for the experience that afforded me, and just the understanding of business, because it was a brand that was in
something that I just don't have.
Yeah, it was a brand in a period of transition from going from a smaller brand to a more major player, and the financial logistics of that, just even getting a glimpse, it's not like I was super involved in it, but just being in a business environment just tweaks the way your brain works. It's you can't learn it in a studio or a lecture hall.
You can't, you can't learn it in a university because that's not what you're there to do.
And this is one of the key problems of university. It's one of the main reasons that if I was to do it all again, I probably wouldn't go. I think I think I would really consider what other opportunities are available and what I can get by doing but also we were talking.
But you are grateful that you went to uni ultimately.
Am I?
Yes or no? That's a question.
No, fundamentally.
Really?
No, I mean,
Damn.
there are so many great things about my university and so many great people involved in my university. Maybe COVID factors into that as well. I had my
Oh, definitely. I think that you should get
yeah,
your money back for that,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Or like at least half.
So the first year of our university was all about skills, fundamental skills. You can't learn that on Zoom. You
Mm-mm,
cannot. You
mm-mm.
cannot. How am I meant to learn how to sew and pattern
So
cut on
unfortunate
Zoom?
for the people that come from
Yeah,
a space where they have nowhere to work. They live
literally.
with their 5 siblings,
Yeah,
you know,
literally.
it's
Yeah.
so bad.
Again, that comes down to privilege because I have my own room. I have my own. If you don't even have your own computer, some people don't. You know, like how
Yeah.
are you? What you
And
watching
you need
Zoom
a
on your
freaking
phone?
like iron and shit. You
Yeah.
need like really,
Mm.
well, not like an iron,
You need
but you need
facilities and
like
space.
intricate things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's
How much did you pay for that? Yeah.
the standard fee. I never got any money back. No,
That is so bad.
and
That
yeah,
is so
it's really
bad.
poor.
You know what's crazy? The people that are designing, so this is separate to fashion,
Yeah,
but the government, they didn't even pay for their degree, really, because it was like 15 years ago
mm.
or like whenever. I don't
Yeah,
know how
yeah,
old they are. But it's like that kind of thing where they paid what, like $2,000 maybe?
But
I
it's
don't know
going
if they
up
were
now,
privately
isn't it?
educated.
It's going up now.
Yeah, your interest is going up.
No. I think the actual fee that you pay per year, if you're starting uni now, is different than it was when I
Really?
was starting uni. I think it's higher.
That
Another
is
reason
so
another
bad.
reason I would
That
honestly
is so
say.
bad.
I mean, we'll come on to this later, but fundamentally, I cannot, in good conscience, tell people to go to university. I don't think it's. I'm not. I don't think it's right for me to discourage people from going either. But when
No, I think
people
I still would
message me
tell
to
people
ask.
Is this just fashion uni though?
Oh yeah, sorry. This is.
Yeah,
I can't speak to
okay.
other courses. You know, like
Yeah.
some things you have to go to uni for.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think you should go to uni if you want to be
No,
a
sorry, I
doctor.
should clarify
Like,
that.
it's fine.
But yeah, surgery's easy. I can figure this out. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ever feel like when you're sewing that you feel a bit like a surgeon?
What,
that
like an unpicker type thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm literally like, oh, I'm doing like surgery right now.
Well,
That's how I feel.
If you got to
It's
fix
like,
something,
I'm
that's like
technical.
surgery. If you
Yeah.
got to unpick something and go into something, that's like surgery.
No, that's like knitwear though. It's like if one thing goes wrong, everything goes wrong.
Yeah, it's like knock-on effects. Yeah.
No, yeah. It's just like, oh, I spent an hour setting up this machine to do this style, and oh, it's fallen off.
The knitting machines are so technical.
I think that they should like kind of advise if you have any mental instability to like be really careful if you want to choose knitting, because like tears are shed. It's just hard.
Yeah, I bet.
It's just techie.
I bet.
For real. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you think people who do not have the opportunity to go to fashion school can make up for the lack of education?
So I was thinking about this on the way here, and I kind of, it's really easy for me to say this as someone who has the privilege that they have, because what I would say is literally make a portfolio. Often it doesn't even need to be that good. It needs to show enthusiasm and passion, because I look at my college work that I would send to people and all it would show is enthusiasm and passion, because I couldn't draw and I couldn't sew.
Yeah.
So those are the two skills that I was lacking, which are arguably the most important. And I'd literally go door to door and like put them in people's hands. That's what I would do. You hear stories about how this used to work in the past, is that people used to get jobs this way. It's not really the same now.
Did you see that thing on Twitter where it was like 8-year-old gets an internship at Louis Vuitton?
Yeah. That people celebrated that, and I felt very bitter about it.
Yeah, I think most people did.
I don't think that's necessarily something to be celebrated, because he's 8 years old. Or whatever he was. I don't know. Maybe that's.
Was it true? I don't know if it was even true, but that was crazy. Sorry.
No, 100%.
I was just like that.
I'm very cynical about those sorts of things, because really, like, there are people who much deserve to be in those positions. But that's not to say that kid's drawings weren't really cool.
But this brings me on to my point of like, oh, how can you make up for the education? I think the internet. Like the 100%. Internet, you can learn so much, or just like YouTube videos, Instagram, like those cookies know what you like they'll just show you.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I feel like I could learn, like especially with knitting or something, there's so many amazing, I've learned so much from YouTube. Like I'd be at uni and I'd be following a YouTube video. Like
this
the
is
tutorials
the thing. Yeah.
are great.
How much construction techniques or things like that, really technical stuff, can you learn equally as well on YouTube, or are you finding yourself often revisiting because the teachers aren't there or accessible?
Yeah, exactly.
For you to
like
go and
I don't want
ask
to
these
take all your
questions
time.
again.
Yeah.
I think that's totally valid. I think that's really common. I think YouTube is the best teacher.
YouTube is the
best. The internet at large is the best teacher, because it's always going to have more knowledge than just a person.
Yeah, I think so YouTube, and then just like doing it time and time again.
Yeah,
like doing
repetition.
Repetition. And also, because I think my mistake was like because I was like, I don't want to go to uni.
Mhm.
So I took a year, or I didn't know it was going to be a year out at the time, but I tried to like start what I was doing. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go through university education. So what should I do?
Mm.
And I kind of began to sell my things too quickly without like wear and tear or like development. And I sold these things, and people were, oh, this one like thing, this woman came back to me. She was like, yeah, like it has a hole in it now. And I was like, right, I need
Yeah.
to like, do the whole process of like, how well does it wear?
Mhm.
Just learning for yourself, like trial and error. Like
Mhm.
it really is just
Mhm.
like showing it on your friends, making them
Yeah.
wear it for a day,
Mhm.
like washing it again,
Yeah,
seeing
washing's a
how it wears.
key
Because
thing.
once you've washed it, it could be completely different.
The amount of fashion students that will insist that everything is hand washed, but they've never hand washed their clothes
That was
anyway.
literally me.
Like,
I was like,
yeah,
you should just like put it in the bath
Yeah.
and see what happens.
See, I think that's a crucial. I think that's like
I learned
a CSM
I learned the hard
a
way.
thing. Yeah, because Westminster, like I always see myself like as a product focused person.
Yeah.
So it's all of the things around product. It's like packaging, care labels, all of that type of stuff. So if I haven't actually done it, how can I make a care label for something, or how can I advise someone at least?
Yeah, I think that's the thing where I was like trying to learn my technical ability and trying to like just make simple things. But if I showed it to my tutors at CSM, they'd kind of be like, but it's a bit boring, or it's a bit commercial. And I'd be like, okay, but I want to know how to make
Commercial's a
these
dirty
things.
word at so many universities, and I find that's such an interesting thing because why is commercial a dirty word? I think it's I hear that from CSM students
I think
all the
it's
time.
because we know what it is and we know what it looks like and we've seen it before. I think they're very much on the, which is I'm quite like aware of, and I'm probably more leaning towards the more grateful side that they're like that, even though sometimes I'll complain. But it's like, okay, I can think in more of an avant-garde way of like, this hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes can drive you into destruction of like, this has it been done before? Oh, like I want to be the first person to do this.
Everything's been done before.
Yeah.
There is nothing new. I mean, it's just new ways of doing old things. Obviously the technology improves,
Yeah.
but there is nothing inherently new, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just you change the ways of doing things, or you develop the sort of ideology around stuff. I think is so crucial. But yeah, I often, even at Westminster to an extent, I would assume a much lesser extent, but I feel like commercials always, it's something that's put in fashion students, and I don't quite know who puts it in them, but commercials seen as a bad thing, but fundamentally fashion is a business.
Yeah.
So I don't get why, because if you can't sell stuff, then I don't get it. I don't really get
Yeah,
what you're
I don't really know why, because I know that people have been really offended if a tutor would say that to them.
What, that their stuff's too commercial, or
Yeah.
that it's not commercial enough?
That it's too commercial.
Okay.
Which is kind of like contradictory.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, it would sell, and they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
They're literally like, fuck my life. And it's just like, babe, what do you want?
But that feeds into how the fashion
so
industry
funny.
operates at so many of these bigger brands, is that it's virality on the runway for showpieces that aren't really going to be for sale to sell handbags that are really for sale and very traditionally commercially constructed.
But that's the difference between where you're at and where I'm at, is like they care about press. And it's like, what's going to get you pressed? Because it's not going to be a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's going to be like, it's not going to be a jacket, or like it's going to be something that we haven't seen before, which will get your name out there. I think they care about a lot about the name.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. They do it well.
Yeah, I mean, brands are usually named after a person, and there is a persona created around that person because people buy into a person as much as they buy into a product. So I think that's crucial.
That's so true.
Like,
I don't really buy into people anymore, though. I think that's what studying fashion has made me do. I'm like, I don't want to buy into a person, because they always tend to be problematic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, fuck this.
But in artistic, I'm not saying like you go to, you buy like food, for example, based off someone's name. Of course you don't. But I think in artistic industries, if you like a song, often.
Who do you buy into, Joe?
Yeah, who do I personally buy into? I'm not going to say a name because it'll age poorly.
Exactly.
But it's like we were talking about Kanye before. It's like, I bought into Kanye. Of course I did.
Yeah.
Like so many teenage boys are enthralled by Kanye. It's like a rite of passage almost. But the older you get, the more you become completely unable to excuse his behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like any artistic industry, you know, like a song, you're buying into a musician, or, you know, just a painter, you're buying into them, I think.
Would you want people to buy into you as
Yes.
like, okay.
I think you have to, because,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason my name is massive on the label.
But people don't know. Do you think it's the same thing where it's like in person? Because people don't really know what Margiela looks like. Is it
But
Margiela?
that,
Or is it,
but that is his persona. His persona is one of
okay.
anonymity.
I get you.
Half the time, Ray Karakuba never speaks.
Yeah.
That is her persona.
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that you can still be a person without, like, when you don't speak.
I mean, fashion consumers are so tribal that you have to have a cult of persona, I think, a lot of the time. You know, like Rick Owens fans don't just love Rick Owens clothes, they love Rick Owens.
Yeah.
That's so crucial, I think.
That's true. Hi, I'm Aurora Georgia.
I'm Joe Brim.
Thank you for watching Ready to Talk.
Like, I just wish there was more consideration for diverse bodies, diverse people.
No, I generally really actually hope that is something, and I feel like it actually could be, because I feel like the fashion industry is finally. No?
I'm listening.